Daddy old Dianne Feinstein. Dianne Feinstein releases in rogue fashion the transcript of that flake that runs Fusion GPS. She did it in violation of an agreement she had with the Republican chairman of the committee, Charles Grassley of Iowa. And she's had, I think, 3 excuses now for why she did it. Greetings, my friends. Great to have you. L. Rushbo here behind the golden EIV microphone as we head on down the busy broadcast week. Speaking of crazy excuses, her first example was, or first reason was, that she just did it on her own because she felt like it. I'm paraphrasing there, but she just felt like it. She was getting a little frustrated out there at the lack of progress, so she just did it. And then she said she was pressured into releasing the transcript. We don't know by who or by what, but she was pressured. That didn't work. That didn't fly. So finally, she dredged up the NyQuil excuse. She said she didn't tell Senator Grassley about any of this because she had a cold. It's the old NyQuil excuse. She was doped up on cold medicine out there. Meanwhile, the media continues to question Trump's mental stability when we have doddering Dianne Feinstein trying to wind her way through a maze that she created. I'll tell you why she released the transcripts. She did it so she could give future witnesses a heads up on what to say, based on what Simpson had said. And she did it to give other Fusion GPS witnesses and others that are going to be talking to the media heads up on what to say to keep stories straight. The bottom line is the dossier story is falling apart. And I'm telling you what we're getting closer to. We're getting closer and closer. And you know what? I'm going to change the audio sound bites. Mr. Broadcast Engineer, go grab number 20 and 21. Many of us have believed for I can't tell you how long that Trump dossier, the Steele dossier, what do you call it, was in fact used by the Obama administration to get a FISA warrant to spy on the Trump campaign and the Trump transition. And that will be, folks, if that is ever confirmed, we've got some people saying it's going to be confirmed next week. But these people have been dangling that carrot for a couple of weeks now, so we'll have to wait and see. But if that is ever confirmed, I frankly think it's true. I don't need confirmation. My instincts, guided by intelligence, I know what happened here. I know the players. I know Obama and Hillary and how they, I know Clapper and Brennan and these clowns, and I know that the Democrats and their politics have corrupted all of these government institutions. I have no doubt that dossier was used. I mean, I think Brennan has pretty much admitted it when he said that it formed the basis of their investigation. But if it's confirmed that a bought and paid for bunch of political opposition research, which turns out to be false, untrue, and made up, if that was used to secure a warrant to spy on a presidential candidate of the opposing party, that's going to be a bigger scandal than any you can dredge up. It's bigger than Watergate by a factor of 10. It's bigger than Iran-Contra by a factor of 100. You would be hard-pressed to come up with a political scandal that even approaches this. And it would have taken place with everybody in this loop knowing about it except maybe the judge. The FISA court judge who would accept this application and the Trump dossier may have been the only guy in the loop to have been duped. And if he wasn't duped, if the judge was in on it, then that's even worse. But they take a document, 36 pages, bought and paid for by the Clinton administration. They hire this former MI6 spy to go out and create opposition research on Trump, and it's made to look like genuine, legitimate intelligence. And then it's presented, and it's also been admitted here that get this, Fusion GPS admitted that they used John McCain to pass this dossier to the intelligence agencies in the Obama administration. The founders of Fusion GPS admitted that they helped the researcher hired to compile the dossier, that's Christopher Steele. They helped him access John McCain to share the document with him. The goal of providing the dossier to McCain, according to the Fusion GPS founders, was to pass the information contained in the document to U.S. intelligence community under the Obama administration with credibility. Of course, to these people, McCain is unassailable. McCain is above reproach. McCain is the epitome of legitimacy, nonpartisanship, and all of that. So they dangled this carrot in front of McCain, and he sent an aide on an airplane to the United Kingdom to pick up a hard copy of this dossier and brought it back. They're now admitting that they targeted McCain as one of the recipients in order to get it in front of the U.S. intelligence community, also because McCain is a Republican, which makes it look like there's no partisanship here. In other words, you have a Republican, same party as the presidential nominee, Donald Trump, so concerned about what might be in this document that he eagerly assisted and provided access to it, the intelligence agency. What a scam this whole thing has been. Here's Andy McCarthy, who has really done an incredible amount of work researching this and presenting it in both factual and timeline form at National Review. He was on Fox and Friends yesterday. I think it was yesterday, maybe the day before, but it was, the last couple of days. And he was being interviewed by Brian Kilmeade. Kilmeade said, I know you went through 300 pages of testimony. Aside from the fact that it's been revealed that somebody got killed because of this dossier. By the way, that's another thing that turns out not to be factually correct. The dossier is not responsible for somebody getting killed. And also, I'm told that Carlos Danger and Huma Weiner are not canceling their divorce, that's more fake news, that all they're doing is settling it out of court to protect their kid, but that they are going ahead with the divorce. I can't remember where I read that. I think it was some blog somewhere. So Kilmeade says, what sticks out for you with this whole thing, the Steele dossier, the investigation?
If you look at an important moment about 6 weeks or so before the election, what you find is that between Obama administration officials and Fusion GPS, which we know was working for the Clinton campaign, there was a full court press to urge the allegations in the dossier, which was composed by Steele, on the media, on Congress, and there's very good reason to believe on a federal court. What's really problematic is that former FBI Director Comey testified in June of last year, so that's 2017, that the dossier was salacious and unverified. If it was unverified in the middle of June 2017, it had to be unverified in September of 2016 when they probably went to the FISA court and when they certainly briefed Congress on it.
Okay. So, Comey in 2017 says it's salacious and unverified and shows it to Trump, but they applied for the FISA warrant in 2016 during the campaign. They knew it was bogus. Folks, they knew it was bogus because they created it. They commissioned it as a work of art, so to speak, like you would hire an artist to do a painting of some roses for who knows. They commissioned this thing, and this guy duly performed. And I don't know if when they commissioned it, they told him to lie and create some of the most outlandish stuff, or if they told him to get closer, what have you. But they knew that it was not true. I mean, they knew that all of this stuff, none of it has been verified. None of it's been confirmed, but they yet present it to the judge at the Foreign Intelligence Services Court. FISA court? Does the judge know it, or is he just being lied to by the people that applied for it and applied for the warrant? Steve Doocy then said, there's so many moving parts to this story. You look at all the investigations on Capitol Hill, the FBI, the special counsel, stuff like that. What does this advance? Where do we go from here, Andy?
The biggest thing right now is the fact that the House intelligence community has finally, after 5 months of stonewalling by the Justice Department and the FBI, gotten its hands on information it's been asking for since August. What we really need to know, I think, at bottom is did the Obama administration use unverified, uncorroborated, basically rank rumor information in getting a warrant from the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court to conduct spying on the Trump campaign, essentially based on information from the Clinton campaign? That's what we need to know.
Yeah, and based on some reporters that have been doing legwork on this story for months now, next week is supposed to be when the bombshell comes, confirming this. So we will just have to patiently wait, as I say, using intelligence guided by experience. And let's, remind you of something else. You remember when Trump in March of, I think it was last year, 2017, sends out this tweet that alludes to the fact that his wires were tapped at Trump Tower. And remember, everybody laughed and made fun of him and said, "Why, you're kidding? What do you mean your wires were tapped? Are you trying to say that you were being spied on at Trump Tower?" Well, we do know that at one point, Trump moved his transition office from Trump Tower to his golf course property in New Jersey after a visit from the director of the NSA at the time, Admiral Mike Rogers. And so I think the president knows much more about this than he's announcing. He had his press conference yesterday where he mentioned 8 times that there was no collusion with Russia, that this whole thing is bogus. The drive-by media making fun of Trump for mentioning it 8 times. And CNN specifically says, this is really crazy. He denies it 8 times. This is weird. Why just one time would suffice? Why do you got to do it 8 times? And now they're using the mention 8 times to suggest that maybe Trump's guilty and is nervous about it, covering it up. My point is, I think Trump knows whether he certainly can know. He's the president, runs the executive branch. He can find out what happened with that FISA application, and he may have and he may know. And it may be why he's sounding more and more adamant and confident about this, because he may know. He may know that it was used to secure a FISA warrant to spy on his campaign and on his transition. But I'm just going to say again, if it's borne out, common sense right now, intelligence guided by experience tells us that that's what the Obama team was using this thing for, that they were spying. Now, it raises a question, because this is also true. Everybody on the Democrat side thought there was no way Trump was going to win, right? Everybody believed that Hillary was going to win and win big. And so, given that, what are they doing spying on Trump? What would be the point? Well, for that, we go to Peter Strzok of the FBI, who said we need an insurance policy. Remember his paramour, the FBI agent with whom he was having an illicit sexual affair, heterosexual, so he's not totally cool. If it was a gay affair, man, they'd love the guy. But it was a heterosexual affair. And remember, they're in McCabe's office. At the time, he's a deputy attorney general. And they're speculating on the presidential race. And apparently Lisa Page had sent a message to her paramour, Peter Strzok, that there's no way Trump wins. There's no way. I've looked at this every way from Sunday. There's no way he wins. And Strzok replies, "I don't know, Lisa. I hope you're right, but we need an insurance policy." An insurance policy for what? People have been speculating, what does that mean? Insurance policy. Well, an insurance policy in case Trump wins. I mean, it's possible. So here we have all of this going on as perhaps the insurance policy for if Trump wins. And now we're watching the insurance policy we have been watching for over a year being implemented. The insurance policy is the investigation. The insurance policy is the FISA warrant secured with the use of the dossier. The dossier is in the news each and every day. Trump is now suing, Trump's lawyers are suing BuzzFeed for what? Defamation for publishing the thing. And that was another, BuzzFeed published this thing, and they admitted when they published it that they couldn't corroborate anything, that none of it was verified, but it was so important that you, the American people, had to know. So we're going to be keeping a sharp eye on this, because I'm telling you one more time, I try not to be too repetitive, but If indeed it is ever documented that all of this in that dossier was used to secure a warrant by the Obama administration, the Obama DOJ, the Obama intelligence communities, to spy, to surveil the Trump campaign and transition team, then, man, Richard Nixon becomes a choir boy. This is absolutely huge, and this is going to have people running for the hills and quaking in their boots. Now, remember, folks, that FISA warrant, forget, the dossier is bogus. Nothing verified. If they used that to surveil the Trump administration, collusion with Russia, it means they had nothing. They had zilch, zero, nada evidence on Trump collusion with Russia. None. If they used the dossier to get a warrant, or if they used it, they've been using it anyway, they've got nothing because the dossier is totally bogus. Now, stop and think of this, folks. Trump collusion with Russia. Think of how often you've heard that. Think of how many days in a row, how many months in a row, for a full over a year you've heard that. It's formed the basis of a special counsel investigation. There is this super secret dossier that everybody wanted you to believe confirmed it. We now know that dossier is bogus. There's nothing in it that's been verified. It's nothing but a bunch of salacious lies about Trump, and it's a bunch of factual assertions have been proven to be factually wrong and not even close. And after that, there's nothing. If that's what they used to go get a FISA warrant to spy on the Trump campaign to try to confirm this collusion, they've got nothing. Now, we've known, you and I have known, that this was all made up. It was a Democrat plan. The plan to hatch it was presented in one of the books that did a postmortem on the Hillary Clinton campaign. We have been led down the primrose path, one of the biggest hoaxes and scams of our lifetimes here. And how many news stories and television stories have there been attempting to convince the American people that this election was rigged and that Trump did it with Vladimir Putin and the Russians, and Hillary should have been elected? Look at how hard they worked to cement that fact, loosely stated, in the minds of the American people. And we are learning that there is literally no substance behind that allegation, including the primary evidence used, apparently, to get a FISA warrant to spy on Trump. And if that was used to get the FISA warrant, it means that's the best they had. And that means they had nothing. They have absolutely no evidence. Now, this is not to say the Russians don't try to tamper in our elections, but so do the Chicoms, and so do the Norks, and so do the Cubans, and so does everybody else. And we do the same thing in theirs. Nobody's naive here. Nobody's saying the Russians don't try, but this is not about that. This is trying to say that Trump actively undermined the American electoral system to get elected, and did it with one of our mortal enemies, and in the process denied the most deserving, smartest woman in the world her shot to be president. And that's just the added insult to injury. And it's all bogus. And this is one of those things, where I, again, intelligence guided by experience and my full-fledged knowledge of the left and those people I've known, suspected, whatever, I've been confident this thing has been bogus from the get-go, as I have said. But I've only been able to present it to you as an opinion that's rooted in ontological certitude nonetheless, but still if demanded to prove it, I couldn't have done that. I could just cite, who we're talking about here, and I could give you the bits of evidence that I've used to form my opinion, such as the plan to do this was announced in the Hillary campaign 24 hours after they lost. Remember the first Fusion GPS effort to derail Trump. At first attempt, they were hired by some Republican during the Republican primaries. Hillary was not the first. The Democrat National Committee was not the first bunch to hire Fusion GPS. They were the second. A Republican, or a series of them, hired Fusion GPS to try to wipe Trump out during the primaries. Then the Hillary campaign hires Fusion GPS, who then goes and hires Steele to manufacture this cockamamie document. Bottom line is, if that's all they had, they have never had anything. There has not been a single factual reference on which to base this investigation. It's just, it is phenomenal. And it demonstrates the lengths to which the swamp, the establishment will go to protect itself and to deny outside